Hello students, parents, families, our community. Welcome back to Sac City Unified and to the beginning of the 2021 academic school year. First, I want to acknowledge that like many districts throughout the region and the state, we experienced some technical difficulties on our first day of distance learning. Thank you to our teachers, our staff, our principals for working hard to resolve this issue. And to our families and students, I apologize and thank you for your patience. You know, for me, as an educator, the first week of school has always been exciting. I began my career as a high school teacher in the Los Angeles Unified School District in 1994. Even then, I understood the honor and obligation I had to positively impact a young person's life and future. Fast forward 25 years to today, and I still have the same belief, but with a clear understanding of the factors that help students succeed and those that keep students from reaching their true potential. And with that understanding, I cannot ignore the inequities that exist in our system, the difficulties they unnecessarily place on our students and families. It's why I've fought for all those years to ensure that each and every student has equal opportunities to succeed, irrespective of their backgrounds. Why? Because one can be removed from their roots, but the values instilled by them should never be uprooted. I was born in Delano, the heart of the Central Valley, where my parents worked day in and out in the same fields that labor leaders such as Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez picketed for the civil rights of farm workers. My family spent time traveling back and forth to Mexico each year as migrant seasonal farm workers. I was in the migrant education program. They toiled in the fields and dedicated their lives to our family's success. And they never mastered English. And for them, navigating complex educational systems was difficult and insurmountable. So I understand the challenge firsthand. I know it's hard for many of our students for the same reasons that I experienced educational challenges growing up in two educational systems in two different countries. I know that Sac City Unified students experience poverty, homelessness, hunger, and a multitude of challenges, even without layering the additional trauma of a global pandemic. Even for our most resourced families, this year of crisis and distance learning overall has been hard. It's with this knowledge, as an educator, as a son of immigrants, and as an advocate of educational equity and social justice, that I again say to you today that our district will no longer accept inequities and a status quo where some students are provided educational experiences that help them thrive while others are ignored, mostly depending on their zip codes and incomes. Since last spring, Sac City Unified School Board and our administration have been negotiating with our teachers union over how we would structure teaching and learning this academic school year, recognizing that the pandemic is impacting schools state and nationwide. As you might have heard, our teachers union declared impasse. This means that our negotiations over distance learning have stalled. And that's accurate, because we could not in good conscience accept their last proposal. But impasse doesn't mean that our students will not receive instruction as required by law during the 2021 academic year, whether we're teaching through distance learning or in the physical classroom space. You should know that throughout our negotiations with our teachers union and other labor partners, we've shared the knowledge we gained from spending the summer asking you, our community, what you wanted for your child to be successful during distance learning. You told me, school board members, that your students needed live instruction, not just independent work. You said you needed communication and information about your child's progress in order to know if they were mastering subjects necessary to be on grade level. When I say we will advocate for our students and we will disrupt the status quo, these are words I mean sincerely, and I stand by them. And I encourage you to seek out unbiased information about what you might hear about our negotiations process. None of my statements are a judgment of our wonderful classroom teachers. I was one of them. But they are reflections of the courageous conversations necessary to advance educational equity and social justice in Sac City. That is why I shared that our focus should be on the quality of time that students spend with their teachers and the distance learning education that we provide. Our district compromised in negotiations by lowering the number of instructional minutes to the minimum required by state law. But the loss of those minutes must be made up with quality live instruction versus independent work. Simply increasing time students spend in independent work is not equitable, and it does not serve our students. And quality teaching and learning means more than simply clocking time together. Our schools must provide quality instruction for all of our students through essential standards. After all, they're called essential for a reason, and every student is entitled to these standards across our district. They're the building blocks for learning mastery. Recorded instruction to allow students and families to access lessons, and they allow for flexibility. Special education services for students with disabilities who must receive the individualized services as required by their IEPs and state and federal laws. Assessments of student learning and identification of where targeted intervention and supports are needed. The minimum instructional minutes as required by state law must be met. This time must include at least some live instruction with a teacher and can include some time for students to complete work independently. This year has been so difficult, academically, socially, emotionally, for all of us. However, this challenge has also presented us the opportunity to learn and to grow. And what we have learned throughout this past year of crisis is that we must make changes so that all students can thrive, despite the difficult circumstances of learning in the pandemic. While change can be motivating, it can also be extremely uncomfortable. Even positive change can require us to collaborate and challenge ourselves in new ways that stretch beyond our current capabilities and mindsets. We know our system isn't working. We know that student-centered focus is necessary. We must work together to make this vision possible, to transform inequity, and to correct injustice within our communities and, of course, within our education system. Let's be transformational. If not now, then when? And if not us, then who? Thank you.